That came up, followed the Joe Edwards bowl, got a touch on the jack, moved it round the corner, sat there. 2 shots. So we'll now see Joe Edwards now. She'll change her hand. She'll certainly be reaching up on that backhand to the 2 counting bowls. And she's playing with a lot of weight up to those 2 bowls and just going to run outside it, is it? Got it, the jack. Got the outside of the bowl.
So the jack's going to be reset now on the tee, which means it will still be Kelly McCarron holding shot. Should be holding 2 by the looks of things.
She will be. Still plenty of room, of course, for now to draw the shot. Kelly McCarron will certainly want to get as close as she can with this, her last bowl.
Yeah, offers the third end, and it's a pretty fair effort drawing to the tee, and that is just a couple of inches away. So great bowl by Kelly McCarron, putting the pressure back on Joe Edwards, who's holding 3. A lot of room for Joe to at least get a second here, but she won't be satisfied with that, no doubt. She'll want the shot.
Certainly we've seen this here. I think we've seen the class of these 2 players. Brendan, the jacks moved around about 3 times as we watched now the Joe Edwards bowl break down towards the jack. It's got a bit of weight on. How far is it going to run? Won't run too far. Will be second shot. Definitely second shot will be just the 1.
Yeah, 1 to Canada. So Kelly McCarron takes a 2-1 lead after 3 ends.
And of course, I haven't checked, Brenton. You would know that. Is there still a time limit in these these matches today, or was it? Because I know in the sort of round robin play there was a time limit, wasn't there?
I don't think so, Kevin. Just because we've got extra time now going into our next round of matches, the semi-finals, to start from 3 o'clock New Zealand time.
Of course, only the 2 games today, isn't there? So there's no need to have the time limit, is there? So. Superb end played there by the Canadian, as we watch now, playing down towards the Service Paradise end, and the first bowl is going to go by a metre, but certainly a good line. The purple bowl of the Taylor SR Dreamline. Joe Edwards, the very tall Joe Edwards, with the Henselite Dreamline XG on the backhand. And she'll certainly want to get her first bowl now on top of the jack and put the pressure right back on the Canadian. She's going to do that as Joe Edwards. Look at this. Breaks towards the jack. A toucher sits right alongside it. That's the bowl you want.
Yeah, great bowl by Joe Edwards. And the standard continues to be of the absolute highest between those 2. And this is what we expected from Joe Edwards and Kelly McCarron. Joe Edwards, the defending Commonwealth Games gold medalists from 14 months ago here on the Gold Coast.
Here we go again as we watch now. Kelly McCarron, look at this again.
What a reply.
Only a mere couple of centimetres from the jack, from the Edwards bowl, draws right onto the jack. And you're right, Brendan, this continues, we're certainly going to see a really tight tussle. So will Joe Edwards now. She's going to play down on her backhand, down to trying to rest. She can rest on the second shot bowl or third shot bowl. Looks on a good line as well as it breaks down towards the head. How's this as it breaks in towards the head now? Is it going to get
just going to slide by?
It's just a mere couple of centimetres. Perfect weight, perfect line.
Great effort by Edwards though, and you can just throw a hand towel over that selection of bowls from these 2 to start with. Now McCarron with her third bowl of the 4th end.
If she can get to the jack, but she's not going to. She's got a touch on the jack. She could make 3, but just
a bit too much green that time from McCarron. Not quite. Weight was near perfect.
Weight was, as you would see, is jack level, at about 18 inches away. But the shot bowl's only sitting. Joe Edwards.
Let's have a bit of a look.
Sprints up the rink to have a look. And as we said earlier, of course, a very, very top football player. And I see her father sitting over there as well this morning, who was a goalkeeper for many years in the National Football League, back at National League for the Nelson side when they played in the National League. And of course, another one, a National League football player we're playing this afternoon, Mike Kernahan in the triples. He's another was another very, very proficient football player in days gone by. All the Australian side look out here at the side of the rink here, Brendan. They're all here cheering Kelsey Cottrell on.
Yeah, like New Zealand, the rest of their combinations through to the semi-finals. So they've got the morning off, a chance to cheer on Kelsey Cottrell, just like a lot of the New Zealand players here do. Cheer on Joe Edwards of New Zealand.
Trying to get a tap on the bowl here. She's going to get a tap on it and remove the jack. Well, couldn't have been any closer. Joe Edwards was just playing with draw weight just to play on to the mauve bowl and would just move the jack. If it moved about 6 inches, that would create shot. I'm sure we'll see now Joe Edwards try and play that same shot again when it comes to her last bowl. It was only, well, a cigarette paper away, really, wasn't it, Brendan, from getting the perfect result?
Yeah, a fine effort from Joe Edwards. Just wanted a bit more of that McCarron front bowl, that shot bowl at the moment, to then affect the jack and roll back to those 2 bowls Joe Edwards does have there. But it wasn't to be. She's going to get another attempt after this, the final bowl of the end from Kelly McCarron.
And of course, Kelly McCarron, she'll try and get in between the mauve and black bowl, but looks as though it's going to be on the wider side. Not going to come back far enough to there. It's going to sit in behind the head.
Probably not a bad result for Kelly McCarron, because Joe Edwards is going to try and get a bit of weight on that front bowl, the shot bowl, and bring back to the New Zealand bowls. So probably a bit more weight than she wanted, but in the right kind of area.
So Edwards looks as though she's going to, as we predicted, going to play that same shot to try and get that touch onto the Kelly McCarron bowl.
Yeah, played too much green there. That's not going to come round, unfortunately.
She flicks this. She could make 2 of it. It won't, though. Just be the 1, I would say, to Kelly McCarron. It is. Just watch the marker confirm that, and he has. So 3-1, but in saying that, the heads are really, really tight, aren't they?
Well, so far 4 ends and just a shot on each of them as well. That tells the story of the match so far. This women's singles quarter-final here at the Asia Pacific Championships at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. Hope you are enjoying our coverage wherever you may be here on stuff.co.nz. Myself, Brenton Vanessa-Roy, and Kevin Hicklin bringing you the coverage this afternoon from 3 o'clock New Zealand time. We'll have the men's pairs semi-final for New Zealand. That is Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy. They will be playing either Malaysia or the Philippines in that semi-final. But right now, I'll focus very much on Joe Edwards in the sudden death quarter-final against Canada's Kelly McCarron, the winner, to play India's Tanya Chowdhury, who's been one of the big surprise packages, hasn't she, of these Asia Pacific Championships. She beat Edwards on day 1. She was a perfect 9 from 9 in section play. And the women's single was the same section as Joe Edwards. Edwards forced to settle for runner-up in that section, and that's why she is through to the quarterfinals here and not straight directly through to that semi.
So here's now Joe Edwards' bowl. Looks to be on a good line now as it breaks down towards the jack to sit inside and got the jack perfectly. Kelly McCarron's first bowl, it's set about 4 to 5 inches from the jack, but not to be outdone. We saw the Commonwealth Games gold medalist played here at Broadbeach, of course, last year. Just equal to the task and just moved the jack across with her bowl and sits now about 8 inches.
Yeah, it's punch and counter punch, isn't it? A great start from Kelly McCarron with the first bowl, and straight away Joe Edwards taking the shot back, moving the jack, and now McCarron forced to come around to this backhand side. A bit too much green that time, and is certainly not in the picture for the second shot at the moment. Joe Edwards will go with backhand as well. She looks to draw the second shot. So
certainly now Joe Edwards will try and capitalise on that very good opening bowl, and I just breaks towards the head now. Just how far is it going to run? And just going to run past fractionally, only by a couple of feet, but certainly on a perfect line. And it leaves the Canadian player, that's the only option she's got, quickly into her work on the backhand. And she's brought a line in for sure.
Maybe a touch narrow.
Trying to sit on the bowl possibly, but no, is going to undergreen and go past. She certainly had, Kelly McCarron certainly had the weight to dislodge the shot bowl. So here's a great chance here now for Joe Edwards. This is, I'm not going to say it's a loose head, but the gate has just sort of opened up a wee bit on this head with Joe Edwards playing her third bowl, and she's on. It's imperative where she sits on that black line as we watch, and breaking towards the head now. Just going to pin on the weight. This will count. Sits on that jack high line. The marker hasn't indicated yet. He's going to.
One.
He's still saying one. So
interesting. So that first bowl of Kelly McCarron must be the second shot, which is, as you see at our screen, the top bowl. We've got the shot bowl of New Zealand, Joe Edwards, the black, and the purple of Kelly McCarron of Canada.
Of course, these players now, Brendan, these top players, they've played up here at Broadbeach. Like Joe Edwards, of course, was up here in the Australian Open. Kelly McCarron was up here for the Blue Diamond Pairs. So they get around and they play. And here's this bowl now breaking towards the head. Is it under that line again, or is it going to sit on the bowl?
Just narrow again from McCarron.
Just missed.
So opening here for Edwards.
So Joe Edwards getting the
doing his own measure to see if maybe her second bowl is the second. So we'll want to get in between those two bowls of hers to draw a second to make sure of it.
Well, of course, the big opportunity here for Joe Edwards is if she's fortunate enough to get just a dead touch on the jack and move it only about 3 or 4 inches. She can score 4 shots here. And she'll certainly come down on that backhand line. And the line to the jack is just sitting just about on that black line. If you're too far outside that black line, you're not going to come into the jack line. So she just has to be. And
here it comes.
Different line.
Doesn't like it. Doesn't like it. You see her face looking up to the sky, saying, why did I play with that weight? She wanted a couple of yards more. It's going to come up well short. So it'll be 1 and a measure, and Joe Edwards will do the honours. So could this be the first time we've got more than one shot picked up on an end?
Well, we'll wait and see. I was quite confident that Joe Edwards had 2 shots when I saw that bowl breaking towards the head where it rested, and of course then Joe did that.
And it is 2 to Joe Edwards, so she levels up the match here in this women's singles quarter-final up against Kelly McCarron of Canada is 3 apiece. And for the first time on the 5th end, we've had more than one shot picked up, so a big end for New Zealand.
We picked that one right from a distance. Brendan, we got.
Well, a magnificent coverage here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club as well. We probably had a better angle of it than the market.
Absolutely. So you notice here, Joey was she's actually shortened the length up a bit to what they had been playing, and so now we have Joey Edwards. She'll play down on her backhand with the New Zealand shirt with the silver fern, very dominant on it. Looks to be fractionally on the wider side. His first bowls have got perfect weight, but just going to be more than likely fractionally wide of where she wanted to be. And Kelly McCarron quickly into her work. She's following that backhand line down. And as you can see, slightly under the line that Joe Edwards played. In fact, she's going to be too far under the line, I think. It just depends on the weight. It will more than likely pull up his shot, but definitely under the line. And these marks certainly give you an indication, Brenton, don't they? You know where the bowl's sort of going to be in the proximity or not.
Yeah, they're fantastic, aren't they? And I can tell you from having watched from the green side for the last 3 days of the Asia Pacific Champs here at Broadbeach, also at Musgrave Hill and Club Helensvale, the pitches that we're bringing you, it is much easier to tell who's holding the shot from our pitches than it is from actually watching greenside. It
certainly is, and just see that Joe Edwards' second bowl just staying out on that line, just slightly wider of the black line. Kelly McCarron, she's inside that line, and again it's going to be under the target, but it will count. So still, it's definitely 2 shots would be to the Canadian. Joe Edwards will certainly want to make amends with this third bolt. She'll persevere, obviously, down on that backhand side. The same preparation every time she delivers a bowl, swings the arm 2 or 3 times, and then that arm very, very close to the body, which makes sure that the bowl gets away smoothly. And again, it's out on that wider line. It just depends how far it's going to break back in.
She's asking for a lot of that bowl, and it's going to be a very similar position to the other two. So straight away you could tell that was a bit too much green. She was hoping for a bit too much. The weight wasn't too far off, but just a couple of yards, and just the green that she gave that, the wide angle, asking too much of the bowls. So she's going to be pretty unhappy with those three. Really opening the door here for Kelly McCarron, who drops another one inside. And she's now holding what you'd think would be 3.
So, Joe Edwards now had 3 good weighted bowls, but just fractionally wide of the line. And not really, there's a slight breeze, a zephyr of a breeze, but nothing to make a big difference.
Can she make the correction?
This line's better, I can assure you. As it breaks down in towards the head now, this line's better. Is it going to get the jack? Is it going to stop?
Is it what? No, just inside from Joe Edwards, and she can't believe it that missed the jack. Shakes her head as she makes her way back to the mat and collects Kelly McCarron's bowl for her 4th and final bowl of this end.
Couple of metres out, certainly looked as though it was going to get to the jack, which would have been a great bonus for Joe Edwards, but she certainly had that different line. There's a great chance here for the Canadian, for Kelly McCarron, to score a good number here. I just wonder, it's gone out wide. How far is it going to break back?
Asking a lot of this.
Breaking back now.
But, weight is near perfect. That's jack level, we think. So should be a good 2 or 3. It is 3.
3.
For Kelly McCarron. So she picks up a big number on this end and now takes a 6-3 lead over Joe Edwards of New Zealand, a Commonwealth Games champion from 14 months ago. And this is actually the first time she's been back in that black uniform since winning that gold medal here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. It's great to see the New Zealand team back in action. Of course, this all in the lead up to the World Bowls Championships, which are here in under a year's time. We also have a couple of Trans-Tasman events for the Blackjacks and also the Multi-Nations, all here on the Gold Coast. So this is a key lead-up event, also a qualifying event for New Zealand. The New Zealand men had already qualified after winning the men's classification at the last Asia Pacific Championships 4 years ago in Christchurch. Well, I can tell you that the women have all qualified as well. They had to finish in the top 6 of each of the disciplines. And so far that's 2 from 2. And a couple more next week as well with the women's pairs and women's triples.
So the New Zealand men's team all arrived. You see Shannon McElroy, Gary Lawson, Jamie Hill just out in front of us here watching Joe Edwards play. Great to see them here supporting their countrymen as we watch Joe Edwards draw the shot. Just go back to that last end, though, Bryn. It just shows how true these greens are, because if you miss your line by a matter of a couple of inches, and that's all it was with Joe Edwards' this case, you can... you've got to get it dead right. And
absolutely, and we've been very critical, of course, saying that too much green, and it's the finest of margins. There isn't that much between perfect green and too much green, and unfortunately for Jo, she had the latter too much. No doubt Shannon McElroy observing how the Philippines and Malaysia are going as well in the men's pairs, which are in the rink right next to Joe Edwards' quarterfinal. Of course, we'll have that for you this afternoon on stuff.co.nz. The men's pairs semi-final. Gary Lawson back in black for the first time in a decade, along with Shannon McElroy. And that semi-final chance to bowl for gold. Whoever wins that one.
There's Joe Edwards' bowl. Just got inside the Kelly McCarron bowl and sat inside it. Now holding 2. And, of course, good news for the McElroy family this week. Shannon and Amy, the announcement of a second child on the way. So, congratulations to them. As we watch now, Kelly McCarron's bowl just going to sit on the outside, turned it over, turned one of her bowls over, and indicating that was the shot, in fact, by getting just that touch on the bolt. So Joe Edwards again, she'll come down on that backhand, reaching, either turning her own bowl over or turning the mauve Canadian bowl out of the head. It's on its way. Joe Edwards is stalking this one now as it breaks down towards the head. How's it going to be to get to the black bowl? If it gets a turn onto the black bowl and make shot of it, and it did. Perfect weight there by Joe Edwards, Commonwealth medal, gold medalist. Just turned the bowl over fractionally to make shot of it.
Yeah, you can tell Kevin, when she's interested in it, that little jog becomes a bit more sprightly, doesn't it? She makes her way after the bowl. In contrast, Kelly McCarron walks her way down to have a look at the head before she bowls her fourth and final of this end.
At least in there, with that shot that Joey was just played for let's say, the lesser player, sometimes when those situations arise, players will try and rush at the head and try and play with a whole lot of weight. You don't need to do that. You just saw there, that's why Joey was such a great player. She just still played, just, perhaps a couple of feet just over draw weight, just to turn the bowl, get the ultimate result, and not lose a bowl and turn into a scoring opportunity. And that's what you need to do as we watch now. Kelly McCarron playing her last bowl on, after picking up that 3. The end before, Edwards holding 1, and this is going to get a slide, but we'll still see Joe Edwards holding shot. Just wait till we see that head again. I'm sure nothing's changed. It's still the shot to Joe Edwards, so Joe will come down again, I think, on that backhand side, just try and either turn her other bowl over, because if she was to turn this bowl over, get a touch on the jack, it's all a bonus to it, or she just sit the outside purple bowl. So Joe Edwards, the New Zealand singles player, on the backhand. She'll bridge the gap after dropping that 3.
Yeah, got a few options here to try and pick up a 2 or maybe a 3. And she follows this one down the green. Line looks good.
On the line to the front bowl. She turns the front bowl over. That'll count. That'll make it count. That'll count. So,
there's 2 to New Zealand, the marker indicates. So, Joe Edwards picks up a couple and bounces straight back after dropping a 3. And there's just one between them in the race to 21 in this women's singles quarterfinal. Joe Edwards of New Zealand and Kelly McCarron of Canada. It's Canada leading 6-5.
Of course, we've got 2 New Zealand women's singles players out here this morning, really, because Kelsey Cottrell, playing for Australia, was born in Auckland.
Yeah, I don't know if she considers herself a New Zealander. It certainly sounds like an Australian.
She certainly does. She's definitely an Australian. And of course, Kelsey Cottrell a few years ago came back home with a family and won the national women's singles. In fact, at Burnside and Christchurch, beating Taylor Bruce. So, still got a bit of it. Still likes New Zealand, but definitely an Australian. As we watch now, Joe Edwards, good opening bowl, breaking towards the head now. It will finish up about 12 or 15 inches, but right on the centre line. It's a good opening bowl on that backhand side of the rink.
Yeah, line absolutely perfect. And you mentioned Kelsey Cottrell, Kevin, and she was actually struggling to make post-section play. Had 3 losses in the first couple of days and had to win all her 3 matches yesterday, and did so in quite impressive fashion to make it through to the quarterfinals. She's in action against Norfolk Island's Carmen Anderson, leading 7-1. We can let you know on the adjoining rink of this one.
Very wily customer is Carmen Anderson. She's a tenacious player.
Commonwealth Games champion from 1994 in Victoria, Canada.
Well, of course, has played for the Philippines.
Australia.
And at one stage, I think she played for Norfolk Island at one stage as well. So.
Oh, she's in Norfolk Island now.
Oh, she is. That's right. Well, she runner-up last year, the last Asia Pacific Championship. So, yeah, she's watching out. Joe Edwards, great second bowl. Just sat only about 5 inches in behind the jack. Kelly McCarron coming down again on that backhand side. Might get it. No, turns the Joe Edwards bowl over.
And that's the fine margins, isn't it? She just wanted to just touch the inside of that Joe Edwards bowl. Then it would have rolled onto the jack. Instead, a bit too much of the Joe Edwards bowl, and that's rolled closer to the jack and only confirmed further that it's 2 shots to Joe Edwards as Edwards gets ready for her 3rd.
And Joe Edwards changing her hand now, certainly not wanting to make contact with the Canadian bowl in front of the head, so going to the forehand side, and just going to depend on the weight now as it breaks down towards the head. This is another good bowl by the Commonwealth Games gold medalist. Have a look at this. That'll be a counter. And the very good thing about that bowl as well, Brendan, is it doesn't give any bowls on that other side of the rink for Kelly to actually use. So she's now going to have to try and play with forehand with weight, to try and rest into, and she's playing with a lot of weight up to the Joe Edwards bowls. Is she under the line or to her own move bowls? It breaks past. It's gone past.
Yeah, we could tell almost immediately as she delivered that one, that was a very tight line. Didn't quite have the speed to hold that line either.
So it was either trying to get to the jack or reduce the count with that third bowl. And Joe Edwards, I see Gail Melrose, New Zealand coach, sitting at the end of the green. She'll be happy with what she's seen so far. But to be fair, both players playing very well. But Joe Edwards, this particular head, has certainly found her line and controls the head.
Yeah, indeed. She does have a chance to put more pressure on McCarron here, does Edwards, with her fourth and final bowl of this end. She's holding 3 at the moment. Can she put another one in there? Or will she run for a bit of cover perhaps and go around the back and have a back bowl to cover that McCarron bowl?
Breaks towards the head now. There's a wider line you could see coming down. It was just on that slightly wider line. She wouldn't really, and I agree with you, Brendan, I think Joe would have been happy to get back to this mauve bowl back here, because I'm sure we're going to see a similar sort of weight with this last bowl.
Yeah, can she execute this time? Playing with weight comes
definitely on different line, better line.
Collect the New Zealand bowl, is it?
The split on the bowl. And
a near perfect result. Has she got the shot now, McCarron?
She certainly moved all 3 bulk counting bowls. She got the split onto the 2 front bowls.
See a replay here. Oh, look at this. This is near perfect from McCarron. Gets a touch on one, then the other, knocks that away, and then the third. The 3 shot bowls for New Zealand. Still 1 to New Zealand, indicates the marker, so we're all locked up. 6 apiece between Joe Edwards and Kelly McCarron of Canada. This, the women's singles quarter-final here at the Asia Pacific Championships on the Gold Coast of Australia.
Well, you could see as soon as that bowl left the hand that it was certainly on a better and a different line to the target area, and was perfect in its execution, and just fractionally unlucky in its outcome. But was 3 down and reduced the count to 1. So, a good bowl all round. And as Brendan said, we're locked up at 6 apiece in the race to 21.
Very unfortunate not to pick up the shot herself as well, McCarron. It was very well executed. Couldn't have asked for a much better result. Maybe could have picked up 1, but to cut the count from 3 to 1 on 1 bowl, very good effort from the Canadian.
So Edwards again, good opening bowl here. Just going to sit right alongside the jack. This is the class of this. Well, as I say, she's won her first Asia Pacific medal back in 2001, and is certainly in the last few years at Commonwealth Games, especially has dominated the singles, and of course the world champion singles, won that as well. So certainly been the dominant women's player, along with Karen Murphy, of course. Karen Murphy won back-to-back world championship and the current world champion defending singles player, not in this event.
Yeah, defending Asia Pacific Championship winner as well, not in this event from the women's singles. So Kelsey Cottrell moving over from the team's events, compete in the women's singles this time around. But
I see Karen Murphy sitting out of contention. She's in the Australian side who embarks on a trip to the UK, I think in July. And here we're watching another bowler, Joe Edwards, is another good bowl, going to nestle in behind the head. That's where you want them. Definitely holding 2 shots and on a perfect line, both of those 2 bowls. And Kelly McCarron following that line down and looks to break down towards the head now. Is it to the jack or slightly going to get the jack? Is it the back of the jack? But unfortunate. Got the back of the jack, didn't get it in the centre, and just sliced the jack back to the already counting Joe Edwards bowl. And it'll
but
be
not the worst result, though.
Certainly not. I know. Only the 1 down now, and it'll be important that Joe Edwards gets another bowl handy, because there's a very good attacking shot on there for Kelly.
Get rid of that shot bowl, indeed.
With her 3rd bowl. So here's now Joe Edwards going back to the backhand side, playing up towards us here in the commentary position, is under the line. Now it's just a matter of how far it's going to run. And ran past by about 2 metres. So, as Brendan rightly said, I'm sure we're going to see Kelly sort of forcing weight.
Yeah, to play with weight and try and get rid of that shot bowl. Looks wide.
It does. I'm surprised with this.
And she turns her back on that. Not happy with that one, Kelly McCarron. She realised pretty early on it was too much green, and she was playing with the right weight to dislodge that shot bowl of Joe Edwards, but not having the right line, too much green, and that sails well beyond the head. So Joe Edwards is still holding. She'll want to add another one in there and try and protect that shot bowl, or to at least take away that option from Kelly McCarron second time round, because as we've seen, she may miss first time round, but she'll execute second time round.
Well, the big chance here for Joe Edwards, if it was to move the jack, that would help and take that shot away, and that's made the shot different now for Kelly McCarron, because may still only be one down, but it just cuts the
marker indicates two to Joe Edwards. So he's saying that second bowl, the final bowl from Joe Edwards, is holding the second shot.
I'm sure that will see her endeavouring to reach the two bowls. So he's got to play with weight that's going to hold up to get to the two counting bowls of Joe Edwards, as indicated by the marker. And it's on its way. I question the line as it breaks down towards the head now. And yeah, it was just, you could see it was just slightly on that wider line, and it went on the wide side of the head. So they'll have a look, and it's two. It is two.
So Joe Edwards takes back the lead here in this women's singles quarterfinal at the Asia Pacific Championships. He leads Kelly McCarron 8-6 in the race to 21, of course. In singles play at major championships, it is the first to 21, as it says on the graphic in the top left-hand corner. So there isn't a number of ends. It is all about who is first to 21. And at the moment, Joe Edwards with the two-shot advantage.
And so how it works in this particular event is they've played 8 to 9 rounds of section play. So the section winners, they get a bye this morning. They don't play. And so then we have 2 and 3 from each section. They play, the two are playing now, and the winners of those will go through to the semi-final this afternoon and play of those who finished at top of the respective their sections. And the losers of this morning, they drop out. So the bonus of winning your section, so to speak, is you get a bye and straight into the semi-finals. And then the others, of course, must win, as Joe Edwards is in that situation now. You must win your morning game to get yourself through to the medal contention. And Joe Edwards has played her first bowl about 18 inches below the jack, but certainly on a good line. As we watch now, Kelly McCarron, her bowl breaking towards the head. It's not going to get past the Joe Edwards bowl. It's going to run into it, in fact. So be disappointed. Bit of room there, because these girls certainly they don't leave a lot of room on the draw. You've got to get close, or you're in trouble. So here's Joe Edwards again now, favouring on the backhand. The tall ex-Nelson player from the United Club in Nelson. She's turned her back quickly on this one. So we see Brennan that's missing the weight and under that line.
Yeah, won't be happy with that one.
No, Joe turned her back very quickly. And of course, Joe and her husband Dave, now based at the Pine Rivers Club in Brisbane, one of the very large clubs. And Dave and Joe have been there a couple of years now. In fact, here's the second bowl of Kelly McCarron's breaks towards the head as it got the weight, had a better line.
Yeah, so a bit of a messy end from these two, all coming up short, and that's really what you never want. And your bowlers come up short, and they've both with their first two have come up short. So far, McCarron, you think maybe holding shot, but there's a lot of better quality bowlers to come. You'd think these last four of this end from both Edwards and McCarron is now Edwards coming on the forehand side, playing with a lot of green again, asking a lot for that to come back.
Changed the hand and certainly went on the wide side.
The weight's not there either.
And the marker indicating that it is, I'm sure he indicated just then that it was 1 to Kelly, 1 to Canada. And of course, Kelly won't want to touch the Joe Edwards bowl as well, which is just sitting out in front of the head. So will certainly be on the wider line, which looks as though she is, because we can see that the bowl is outside that black line.
And they're both coming down to have a little inspect of the head before they play their fourth and final bowls of this end. And again, the line better, the weight better there rather, but the line again off the mark. And I think both of them are just shaking their heads and going, what are we doing this end?
I think for Joe Edwards, really, it's not about trying to get that draw around the bowl. I think Joe can keep to her weight, just bring it in a fraction, and she gets to her front bowl and gets one turn out of it. That'll make shot, because the danger is you can try and get out too wide on here, and you're just not going to. Obviously, we've seen to get that weight and green 100% right. It's a challenge. So Joe's got the opportunity to turn her own bowl over. Someone moved on the other rink. She just halted it for a second in her delivery.
Yeah, Carmen Anderson, one of the true characters of world bowls, was moving and shaking after one of her bowls on the adjoining rink. As now Joe Edwards corrects the weight. Line pretty good as well.
I'm picking that'll be close to shot, I would say, and behind the jack. Certainly, it just
a measure, says the marker.
So the chance for Joe Edwards was just to draw outside that line, which she did, or to turn that bowl, the other front bowl, in, and played with weight that would get her that result, but also by missing the bowl gave her a good draw opportunity as well. So Gary McCarron looking at this, because she certainly doesn't want to touch that.
She'll come backhand again to try and knock one of her bowls towards that side, as here she comes. So a big opening for McCarron to at least pick up a shot here, potentially two. At the moment, says it's a measure. And
good bowl here from Kelly McCarron. There's a good bowl drawn right around, turns Joe Edwards' bowl out. And I would imagine.
So certainly one, potentially two. There's Kelly McCarron doing her own little measure. Now she's actually going to get out that measuring implement.
You'd think it was two, but looking at the back bowl here, so we'll just wait for the marker. Just the one.
So one to Kelly McCarron. So it makes it a one-shot game. Once more, Joe Edwards leading Kelly McCarron 8-7 in the race to 21 here. The first women's singles quarterfinal. The winner to face India's Tanya Chowdhury this afternoon. Chowdhury, the surprise package of section play. She was a perfect 9 from 9, including a first-up win over Joe Edwards on day one of these Asia-Pacific Championships here on the Gold Coast.
Like you were saying, Brendan, earlier on, we were talking about Tanya Chowdhury, that at the 2010 Delhi Games, she was one of the youngest competitors in the Games, is that right?
Yeah, I tried to do a bit of research about Tanya Chowdhury, and there was certainly a story suggesting that she was going to become one of the youngest ever players, I think at the age of just 15, to play at the Delhi Commonwealth Games, but then couldn't actually find if she did play. She certainly played at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, but played in the team events, I think the fours and the triples she played in at Glasgow. And then I don't believe she played at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. And in fact, when you look at the program we have here for the Asia Pacific Championships, she's actually listed to compete in the fours and triples. And when we saw her beat Joe Edwards, we didn't actually know it was her to start with until we turned up the next day and saw that's certainly not who that is suggested to be. It was Tanya Chowdhury. And so we righted that, and she's been sensational in section play to win a section that included Joe Edwards, to not have one slip up, to beat some pretty high profile players like Carmen Anderson, who we've mentioned, from Norfolk Island, also very good players from Hong Kong and Singapore in that section as well. So no mean feat. Now she awaits. She's had a chance to rest up in the morning. She gets to watch the action here before her semi-final this afternoon. And will it be 4 semi-finals for New Zealand this afternoon? Can Joe Edwards complete the quartet of semi-finalists? We already know that the men's pair, the women's 4 and the men's triple all through to semi-finals this afternoon after winning their sections. Joe Edwards trying to join them, and I can let you know that here on stuff.co.nz we'll be broadcasting the men's pairs semi-final. Gary Lawson, the skip, and Shannon McElroy to take on either Malaysia or the Philippines for a place in the final.
So we could see Kelly McCarron, she's opened this head up perfectly, sitting with 2 bowls, sitting right on the jack, holding 2. Joe Edwards' bowl just went past only by about 18 inches, but two very, very good bowls by the Canadian. And we'll now see Jo Edwards. She'll play down on her forehand, trying to rest on these two counting bowls. Just went past for the second bowl. It's this bowl now. Breaks towards the head and breaks down towards the jack. Is it going to hold up? No, it's not. And just sits jack low. Now, it may well, we'll wait and see what happens with this next bowl. But we may see now Jo Edwards with her last bowl, in fact, elect to drive and to try to get the outside of the Canadian bowl, which would also get the shot bowl. But we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, Kelly McCarron holding 2. And she's got her fourth and final bowl. She played first, so we'll play her final bowl now, and then Jo Edwards to respond. And depending on what McCarron comes up here, as you mentioned, Kevin, there may be some weight from Jo Edwards.
I'm sure there will be now, because here's the third one.
Yeah, holding 3 now, McCarron. And that one came in a long way. Thought she might have had a bit too much green. And now Jo Edwards.
She's on the mat, and she certainly looks as attacking weight is the order of the day to the 3 bowls.
There's the sun streaming in here at the Broadbeach Bowls.
It's close as it breaks towards the head, gets the ball and kills it and goes to the spot.
And who has the spot? Looks like it'll be 1, I believe, to McCarron.
It will be.
And we see a replay of this. And the line was perfect from Jo Edwards. Got the front bowl of McCarron and the second. Knocked the jack away as well. Killed it out of the rink. It will now be respotted on the tee. And they've got a couple of back bowls as well that they're seeing if they're maybe closer. But looks like 1 to McCarron. So we're all tied up once more here in the race to 21 in the women's singles quarter-final between Jo Edwards of New Zealand, the defending Commonwealth Games champion from the Gold Coast 14 months ago, and Kelly McCarron, who was an unlucky 4th place finisher in both the women's singles and the women's pairs at the Gold Coast Games.
Great bowl there by Jo Edwards. The first time she's been what I would call really big pressure on the head. She had one sort of bad head earlier on, but she drove the bowl, got everything clean, and turned 3 down, in fact, to 1 down. So magnificent bowl there by Jo Edwards. And what we're going to see, I think, now, Brenton, the sun's starting to, I'll see that Ryan Bester might nod, the sun's coming out now that the green, I think we're going to see, we'll see possibly another second of speed on the greens now as the sun starts to come into full glare in front of us here, and we'll get the green run at about 15.5, which will be ideal.
Yeah, we've seen throughout this championship so far that greens certainly speed up as the games and days go on, but then they also slow down just at the end of the day as well as the sun starts to go down in the sky. There's been a bit of wind and it starts to get a bit cooler in the afternoons.
It certainly has got cooler.
Shouldn't be an issue today, given that the games are starting. The last round, the semi-finals will be today, starting underway from 1 o'clock local time, 3 o'clock New Zealand time. So they should be over before 4 p.m. local time, and the green should be in very good condition.
So the surface here at Broadbeach and the other clubs is a Twift-Dorf, which is a grass-type material, and they certainly, Brenton and I were here early this morning. He was here earlier than me, but the greenkeepers they were mowed and rolled, and they're like billiard tables. To watch the second bowl of Jo Edwards, definitely holding 1. As this second bowl now breaks down towards the head, is it going to run all the way? No, it's not. Perfect weight, more than likely. Just needed another roll. It's just the 1 to Jo Edwards, the bowl just sitting behind the jack, about 5 o'clock, about 9 inches behind it. And Kelly McCarron, she'll play down on her forehand. I want to play the backhand actually to try and get down to the counting bowls, but it's on a good line. As that breaks down towards the head, is it going to get the jack, or is it going to sit outside?
Great bowl by Kelly McCarron, who's now holding shot for Canada. Jack level that bowl from McCarron. And Kevin, you're talking about the speed of greens, and you're saying ideally 15.5 seconds for those who maybe not too familiar with the game of bowls, what does it actually mean? And the higher, the better, right?
Yeah, so from the time that the bowl leaves the player's hand until it comes to rest at the other end, that's complete rest, that's you clock that, and that's what determines what the speed of the greens are. Now, in New Zealand, we normally have our Cotula greens. They run in the peak of the summer months around 16 to 17 seconds. And here on the Gold Coast and around Queensland, you're normally around 15.5, 16. Now, funny enough, for example, in Victoria, where they're predominantly grass greens, there's another good bowl here from McCarron. I'm not going to count, I don't think. Yeah, so in Victoria, they're on grass greens, and they run at a lower speed. They're at about 14. But Twift Dwarf, which they've got here, is certainly a fantastic surface, and you certainly got to maintain it. There's no doubt about that. But certainly does present a good playing surface at a speed. So that's how the speed's determined, Brendan, from the time the bowl leaves the player's hand until it comes to rest at the other end. That's what determines what the speed of the green is.
And we have the international technical officials, as you can see right in front of us here, who actually measure the speed of greens before the start of each day's play, and the players are very much aware of what the speeds are, and they'll also measure it, no doubt, before the semi-finals this afternoon, so we'll be able to give you an indication on what the speed of the green is come match time as well.
So here's now Jo Edwards playing down on her backhand, trying to get a rest on the McCarron counting bowls now. As it breaks down towards the head, is it going to get the purple bowl or sit outside it? Has to flick it out of the head. She does and flicks it towards her own bowl. Does Jo Edwards, and has that made shot? We'll see in a tick. Out comes the measure, the finger over the top measure, and yes.
Certainly one to Jo Edwards. Will it potentially be two? She's asked Kelly, do you want me to get the measure out? She says, yeah, why not? If you're going to do the honours, Jo. And she gets down.
Jo Edwards played with that yard of weight to play through what was the counting bowls, got the split on it, and moved the jack across to where the Jo Edwards counting bowl was. And we'll see.
I believe it's two. It is two to Jo Edwards. So
2 down to 2 up. So there's an exceptionally good turnaround, a 4-shot turnaround there by the New Zealand singles player.
And she takes back the lead, 10-8. She now leads Kelly McCarron of Canada in the race to 21. This women's singles quarterfinal here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on Gold Coast, Australia. Asia Pacific Championships post-section play day 1. And, this women's singles quarterfinal certainly living up to all expectations. It's been a great matchup between these two fine bowlers.
Well, it certainly has. Look, at this stage, the New Zealand side, which is virtually a new New Zealand side from what we had the Commonwealth Games 14 months ago, with, of course, the record of Gary Lawson and Mike Kernan and back Jamie Hill, Wendy Jensen, Kirsten Edwards, Val Smith going up to skip. They've gone through the section play fantastically well, and of course the optimism is for 5 medals at this event, and with 2 of them being gold. So the selectors would be pretty happy with how the first round or the first week's gone, really, Brendan, because New Zealand side, I think they've acquitted themselves pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've got high expectations as well. I know after discussions with High Performance Sport New Zealand, they had a 5-medal target. There are 8 events here at these Asia Pacific Championships, so it's 5 medals out of the 8 events. So far, so good, with 3 medals guaranteed, because if you make the semi-finals, you are guaranteed at least a bronze medal with 2 bronzes dished out. But they also need to win 2 of those. So 2 of those 5 medals that they're targeted, the Blackjacks, have to be gold medals. That's going to be the big challenge for this New Zealand team.
Absolutely. I'm going to say that I think that what Jo Edwards just touch the Kelly McCarron bowl and knock it in, most likely for shot. I'm going to say right now, Brendan, I'm not going to say what or where, but it's more than likely one of the best balanced sides, New Zealand sides, that I've seen for a long time. All my years have been around the bowling scene, and I think we've got a very, very competitive side. and you're staying with the side. And what I've seen from the side as well, they certainly look to be a very happy side. They're a very unified side. They're here to do a job, and that just augurs well, I feel, from and full marks as selectors for the side they've selected.
Yeah, I think combination's certainly still building. I know Mike Kernahan said as much yesterday, that they've still got a bit of a way to go. He's in the men's triple alongside Ali Forsyth, the skipper, and Jamie Hill, and they just haven't played a lot together, of course. And
no, they haven't.
Ali Forsyth, of course, has the benefit of playing over here. Mike Kernahan and Jamie Hill have come straight out of the New Zealand winter, haven't played much bowls of late, so they're probably not at the very tops of their game, but they feel if they can build a combination here, that if New Zealand's successful, this will be the basis of the New Zealand team for the World Championships on the Gold Coast here in about 11 and a half months' time. So a big event for this New Zealand team, and Joe Edwards in the first match for New Zealand in post-section play here in the women's singles quarterfinal, trying to kick things off for this Black Jacks team. Up against Kelly McCarron, has a 2-shot lead as McCarron comes on the backhand side. Plenty of green. Will this one run around? She gets a bit of a jog after it, urging it round the line. Looks good. It's just going to slide by. But a fair effort from Kelly McCarron with her third bowl of this end. Playing back towards our commentary position end. They're playing from the Surfers Paradise end of the Broadbeach Bowls Club.
Well, if you looked at it now, Brendan, got 5 bowls where you could put a tea towel over the 5 bowls with their closeness to the jack. So, of the highest quality as you watch now, the Joe Edwards, her last bowl now, as it breaks down towards the head, slightly wider this time. It won't come back. She's turned her back on it, but it's going to, if it gets past, it won't. But it's another bowl in that sort of big net of bowls sitting there.
Yeah, not a bad effort. Now it'll be interesting to see what McCarron does here. You think she'd go back to that backhand side, just like her previous bowl. And if she goes the jack, that's going to trail right onto that other bowl of hers.
Only centimetres away with her third bowl. It just slid past the jack by a couple of centimetres, and you're right, Brennan, heading back, looks as though back to the backhand it is. Just trying to get that touch on the jack. It's on its way. And Kelly McCarron, she's looking at this. How wide is it, though? As it breaks down towards the head now, has it got the weight?
Good.
Has it got the jack? Has it got the
inside,
jack?
but
sits on it. Magnificent, superb bowl.
Just sitting off that front bowl of Joe Edwards and right onto the jack. So it's certainly 1, and the marker indicates 3 for Kelly McCarron. So what a fine final bowl from the Canadian. And she turns a 2-shot deficit into a 1-shot lead. She now leads New Zealand's Joe Edwards 11 shots to 10 in the race to 21.
Well, that jack really, when it got moved, Brenda, would only have been moved a mere couple of inches too. So that shows how close the bowls actually are. It would only have been just the bowl just rolled onto the jack and just pushed it out, and to turn it from 2 down to 3 up, magnificent turnaround for the Canadian singles player.
It's been interesting as well, Kevin, that most of the ends have been of similar length. Both players seemingly quite happy with the longer length. We haven't seen either of them mix it up yet.
No, I think they're confident they can get their consistency at that particular length. So, they perhaps if all of a sudden if someone's chasing or whatever, you might see it change around a bit. But they seem to be happy at this length.
Of course, the player who wins the previous end will start the next end, and they dictate where the mat goes, and they dictate where the jack goes as well.
So we watch now that Joe Edwards' bolt is going to finish jack level. That'll be shot. Kelly McCarron's bolt slightly low of the jack. Plays her second bolt. Very quick player, the Canadian, and as Brendan said, 2 bronze medals at previous World Championships and unlucky at the Commonwealth Games, so certainly a top international player and just going to fall short. Joe Edwards asking the market how far low it is or what's the story on the head. Certainly won't want to touch any of the 2 of the purpley coloured bowls.
Of course, the silver and bronze medalists from those Commonwealth Games last year aren't here. Wales and South Africa not part of Asia Pacific. So not here. So we've got the top 2 players from those Commonwealth Games that are able to be here. And Joe Edwards, of course, the gold medalist, and McCarron, the 4th place finisher from 14 months ago.
And both of these players, of course, have been selected to play in the big event at Moama later in the year, where the Australian side are playing the rest of the world. And there's Joe Edwards, Kelly McCarron, a couple of English players and Malaysian, and Shannon McElroy's in the men's the rest of the world side. Played at the magnificent complex at Moama. So Kelly McCarron certainly is one of the leading top 3 or 4 players in the world for sure. So you watch now Joe Edwards. There's 3 short bowls sitting there. So here's come Edwards now on her backhand, trying to get either under her bowl to count or to turn her bowl over, but it's going to also just be on the narrow and light side.
Hope you are enjoying the coverage wherever you may be, watching on stuff.co.nz for the first time. Of course, this afternoon we will have the men's pairs semi-final. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy of New Zealand. Of course, Gary Lawson back in the New Zealand side for the first time in a decade. Shannon McElroy, the reigning world singles champion. They'll be facing either Malaysia or the Philippines. We'll have that one for you from 3 p.m. New Zealand time, But now the focus very much on this women's singles quarterfinal. Joe Edwards, the reigning Commonwealth Games singles champion, up against Kelly McCarron of Canada. And it's been a tight contest throughout. No more than 2 shots separating these 2 players. Moment after picking up 3 on the previous end. Kelly McCarron leading by a shot.
So, all our New Zealand viewers who love watching their bowls, this is certainly the new Stuff platform. It's a great opportunity for them to be able to watch live action, uninterrupted, live action today and tomorrow.
Yes, of course, we'll have the finals for you tomorrow. Fingers crossed there are some New Zealanders in that finals action, of course. Got the potential of 4 Kiwis in semi-finals today, so they're pretty good odds of a finalist being found from them.
So the tape's certainly going to come out because nobody knows who's got the shot there with the front bowl of Joe Edwards's, and more than likely the one out to the side on the screen here. You might see the measure go to, but that's one to the checking the other Joe Edwards bowl. That's the bowl that I actually thought was the closest one, the one that Joe Edwards is measuring now. So it's going back to measure her bowl, and the mauve bowl of Kelly McCarron's, which
it certainly looks further away.
It does.
From our pictures, but maybe it's not. It's 1 to Kelly McCarron.
Was more than likely it's the only head I think we've seen where there was only 1 bowl in fact over the head. They were all on the all the bowls on the shorter side. Good crowd starting to arrive here, Broad Beach. Brendan, people starting to arrive in here, and they're going to see some of the best players in the world in action today and tomorrow.
And of course next Thursday and Friday as well. So once we're done with week 1, we have a day off on the Sunday, and then section play starts in the men's singles and men's fours, and women's pairs and women's triples. And then we have quarterfinals and semi-finals, which will be live streaming for you as well on Thursday, and then the final on Friday as well. But we've got a lot of action to go through before we get to that stage, that's for sure.
Certainly do. And fortunately the weather has been kind, which normally is over this part of the world.
Yeah, it certainly has been t-shirt and shorts weather here over the Gold Coast. Sorry to rub it in for all those of you back home. But yeah, quite a remarkable climate, although there was a bit chilly yesterday with a bit of wind around and a bit overcast. But a beautiful day here, a bit of cloud around, but very little wind. Sunny conditions, perfect for Asia Pacific Championships post-section play. And Joe Edwards with a bit of work to do here. Kelly McCarron picking up the last 4 shots of this women's singles quarter-final, and she's just drawn the shot there too, playing off that first bowl of Joe Edwards.
Certainly seems, Brendan, especially coming up, well, it seems both ways. There's certainly a favoured hand on the draw, and both players, we're watching this bowl now, Joe Edwards, this is going to sit inside the line. It's got the weight to get to it, not quite. Just you can see that draw at the finish just seems to be a wee bit kinder. Not that it's significant, but just seems to get a wee bit of a better finish on the bowls. But the Canadian player, Kelly McCarron, of course, one of the top singles players in the world, is not overawed in any way up against the current back-to-back Commonwealth Games gold medalist. As we watch another good bowl here, break towards the head, gets the inside of the Joe Edwards bowl, touches, sits on top of the jack, will be a toucher, gets the spray, holding 2 shots. And you're right, Brendan, all of a sudden we're just starting to see a wee bit of the last 4 shots, of course, have all been scored by the Canadian. And
yeah, putting some pressure on Edwards here. Now, this is an important bowl. I don't know if she's too happy with this one. She always walks off to her right side no matter what, but she looked straight away to the side of the rink, wasn't too happy. And this one, the weight is a bit too much. Not a bad effort, really, from Joe Edwards, and just a few inches away from being a near-perfect bowl. But unfortunately, she got the touch on that shot bowl of McCarron and has only made it tougher on her as well.
Certainly has, because it's not there just to move. Before the bowl was sitting up. Now, of course, the shot bowl is sitting down. There's watch this last bowl break towards the head of it's inside the Joe Edwards bowl. No, it's not. It's going to just turn it over, and really, all Joe Edwards can do, she's coming down to have a look. And remembering, of course, if Joe Edwards is to drive, and you notice there's a toucher there, and for those who maybe first-time viewers, if the toucher goes into the ditch behind you, of course it's still alive, and so it's not that's why they mark it, because if it goes into the ditch, it's still alive and can count.
Yeah, you may see the little white dot on the shot bowl, which is right next to the jack. That indicates just what Kevin is talking about. That's a little bit of a special bowl, the touch bowl. And if that jack and the bowl end up in the ditch, then it is still alive.
Indicating from the marker that it was 1 and a measure to Canada. Joe Edwards now will play her last bowl, playing up towards us here in the commentary position, away from the Surfers Paradise hand. Tall Joe Edwards with the grey charcoaly Henselite Dreamline XG bowls.
Of course, 2 Edwards in the New Zealand team. Kirsten Edwards will be playing this afternoon, a member of the New Zealand Women's 4, also back in the New Zealand setup after a bit of time away.
This bowl now looks like it's going to be on the narrow line, and it is. And of course, the Edwards combination will line up in the pairs for New Zealand, and related, of course, by marriage. Of course, the Edwards, the famous cricket name in Nelson, Jock Edwards, of course, and brother Dave, of course, who was the New Zealand coach selector for a number of years. And so just the one to Kelly McCarron, but that's now 5 on the bounce for the Canadian, as she takes the biggest lead of this match so far, this women's singles quarter-final here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club. Brought to you on stuff.co.nz, and the double defending Commonwealth Games champion Joe Edwards in a bit of trouble here in the race to 21. Well, I think it's a pretty old psychological thing as well, Brendan. You start scoring and you get a bit of confidence within yourself. You know where your bowls are going, so to speak, and when you're chasing, it's just that much different. And not that Joe Edwards is at the sort of the real chasing stage at this stage, but she would certainly like to start scoring again. 5 ends in a row, or 5 points in a row now, and another very, very good opening bowl here by the Canadian player. Sits just in behind the jack.
And that's exactly what you want to do if you're Kelly McCarron as well. Keep the pressure on Joe Edwards, because she needs to score, and by starting up straight away right on the money. That is right on the jack line, just a couple of inches past the head. Perfect start from Kelly McCarron. Now how can Joe Edwards respond as she comes on the backhand side?
And this has been Joe Edwards' favoured hand playing this way. It's on a good line as well as it breaks down towards the head. Is it going to sit, just going to go past? But, you know, it's only gone past by inches.
Not bad, but it's unfortunately not quite good enough at the moment.
And as any, you know, bowls theorist or bowls coach would tell you, that you can get that first bowl close like Kelly has done, it certainly gives you a, I'm not saying a dominant control of the head, but it gives you a good start as we watch another great bowl come in here for
Look
the
at
Canadian.
This from Kelly McCarron.
This is really top stuff by the Canadian player. Sits right on the jack. And of course the other difficulty for Joe Edwards here, Brenton, is they sit in that very straight line. There's not, you haven't got a couple of bowls to aim at or slide off a bowl. It's just dead drawing to the jack. So, and of course Joe Edwards, she's equal to that for sure. And it's close as it breaks down towards the head. Now is it going to sit on and get the jack? Got the jack out to the side. Magnificent bowl by Joe Edwards.
Wow, what a response from Joe Edwards. Kelly McCarron absolutely setting the table there, starting this end in fine form. 2 bowls right on the jack, and somehow Joe Edwards managed to find it. I'm not quite sure how she managed to find the jack, but she has. She's spun it out and has changed the head, and now it's Edwards of New Zealand holding the shot. Not for long, though.
Not for long, because equal to the task, but indicated by the marker that Joe Edwards is in fact still holding the shot. So it was magnificent bowl there from Joe Edwards, because as we just spoke about, there was only one bowl to play at, and played it absolutely perfectly to rest on the shot bowl. So here's now the Joe Edwards bowl, the marker indicating holding the shot as it breaks down towards the head now. Is it going to sit on the McCarron bowl? No, just went past it. Marker indicating that Joe Edwards is holding the shot.
Yeah, angle from our camera slightly deceiving. So that bowl, which is just to the left of the jack and a bit short, is holding shot according to the marker, not the McCarron bowl, which is just past the jack.
And this last bolt just got a couple of feet of weight on it and just goes past. Certainly was on the line to the scoring or the jack. So Joe Edwards now.
A lot of room to work with for the reigning Commonwealth Games champion. She needs to stop the rot here. 5 straight shots she's given up.
Certainly wider. Will it come back enough to draw level to the jack, to jack level? No, it's not.
Now, when they get out that wide, they don't seem to move much.
Just doesn't seem to be as kind on that draw as we spoke about before, Brendan. The last 2 to 3 feet of the bowl drawing in, it just doesn't seem to be drawing on a straight line towards the jack. Just seems just a whole fraction. And talking to Karen Murphy, in fact, when the Australian Open was on, Karen happened to remark that it can be a wee bit challenging. And look, the green's perfect, don't get me wrong, but it just highlights that it is a game of centimetres, isn't it, of getting that line perfectly right.
Absolutely, yeah. But she has done enough to pick up the one shot. So after 5 straight for Kelly McCarron of Canada, Joe Edwards back on the board. So now 2 shots separating these two in the race to 21 in this women's singles quarter-final here at the Asia Pacific Championships. Beautiful Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia as the sun is absolutely streaming in to the playing surface here at Broadbeach.
Great opening bowl. Good opening bowl by Joe Edwards. Just sat just outside the line, about 14 inches low of the jack. Again, both players straight away what I would call the favoured drawing hand. So both been drawing so well. Coming up this way.
Joe Edwards bringing the mat up a bit on this end, but almost counterbalancing that is that when she rolled the jack, it's sitting right on the tee, so as far as the jack can sit.
And that, of course, is at the 2 metre point from the ditch, that last right where the line ends. It's 2 metres from the jack. As I see Carmen Anderson doing a ballet move out onto the rink right next to Joe Edwards.
Yeah, you'll see her pop into our picture quite a number of times. Carmen Anderson, as I mentioned a bit earlier, one of the true characters of international bowls. She certainly plays up to the crowd. There's no doubt about that. And she's currently in action against the Australian Kelsey Cottrell, and she'll know that Cottrell will have all the local support here.
Yeah. Joe Edwards drawn a second shot. Just came round past the front bowl and went about 22 inches behind. To watch now this bowler, Kelly McCarron's, and it's going to be under the line. I'm just going to make a comment here on that, Brendan. The first bowl of Kelly McCarron's just makes it a wee bit difficult to get the line to the jack, the way how it's sitting out, and if you hang out too wide, of course, you're going to go past on that wider side. So just a wee bit of a challenge there for Kelly McCarron on that draw there. As we watch now Joe Edwards' bowl break towards the hedge outside that line. This will count as a superb bowl here from Edwards. That's 3. And Kelly McCarron will, I'm sure, have to change her hand.
Yeah, needs one in the picture. Because at the moment, this is Joe Edwards just peppering the head. She's holding 3.
And changing her hand, as we predicted, Kelly McCarron would do. As it breaks down towards the head now. This isn't a bad response. How's the weight, though? How's the weight as it breaks in towards? Look at this, would you? Draws a toucher.
Wow, there was room on that backhand side, as you mentioned, Kevin, and Kelly McCarron playing it absolutely perfect. The weight, the green, outstanding from McCarron. And after being 3 down, she's now holding shot, the Canadian, as Joe Edwards makes her way down to have a little look at the head.
Certainly shows just confirms the class of the Canadian singles player, because a lot of pressure there. And 3 down, and 2 of them within about 40 inches of the jack. And now, of course, Joe Edwards left to follow the McCarron bowl and try and sit the bowl out or touch the jack. But will have to be very, very precise, because, as Brendan rightly said, it's sitting right on the jack is the shot bowl.
Brenton Vanessaroy and Kevin Hickland bringing you coverage here on stuff.co.nz of the Asia Pacific Championships post-section play. And the first of the matches for New Zealand is Joe Edwards, the reigning Commonwealth Games gold medalists, up against Kelly McCarron of Canada in the women's singles quarter-final.
And didn't like that. You could see as soon as Joe Edwards let that bowl go, played with running weight to try and get contact up to the head, and was under the head and sailed by, and leaving it 1. That superb bowl on the backhand that Kelly McCarron played absolutely just sat right on top of the jack, 3 down, and you don't get much better than that.
No. There's McCarron. Try and add another one. Is there room for her to potentially draw a second shot here?
Close.
It's looking like it's right on line again. Is this going to sit just behind? Didn't quite have the weight, so it'll just be the 1. But it's another shot to Kelly McCarron. So she now is leading Joe Edwards 14-11 in the race to 21. So McCarron now just 7 shots away from what would be an upset. Not a major upset given Kelly McCarron's calibre, but we must remind you, this is Joe Edwards, the 2-time defending Commonwealth Games champion. And of course, the last of those Commonwealth Games golds was here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast some 14 months ago. Joe Edwards has been in supreme form internationally for a number of years now, and this would be a big, big result for Kelly McCarron.
Well, Kelly McCarron, though, certainly right up to the task. Look at that, draws virtually right onto the jack, not quite a touch, but only centimetres away. And the drawing of both of these players, Brendan, is absolutely first class, isn't it? You know,
absolutely. And just saying to Joe, I'm not going away. I'm not going away. I'm going to continue to put the pressure on you, and you're going to have to come up with big, big shots to answer. As Joe Edwards' first reply, weight looks a bit big, so it touched probably a metre past the jack. And still it's McCarron holding that first great start at draw with her first bowl of the send. Now coming forehand side again, urging this one round. And she gave it plenty of green.
This might play in Joe Edwards' favour here, where that bowler's finished up now. Although it's short of the jack, it does give Joe Edwards the opportunity to, if she plays with that same weight again, you can use that bolt to run towards the jack just to get a touch onto it.
Yeah, it gives a bigger target, doesn't it?
Just increases it slightly for it. Remembering, of course, the Joe Edwards bowl, first bowl, sits in behind the jack. So, yeah, as we predicted early on, Joe Edwards looking for the split bowl onto bowl and got it, as we said. That was, the door was
well executed and well explained as well, Kevin. You knew as soon as it happened, as here we get a replay of this. Kevin talked you through it. She was trying to find that front bowl and to knock away the other one, and this is as fine an execution as you could wish for. Here, look at that, knocking the shot bowl away, and it is now Joe Edwards who is holding shot all of a sudden.
Superb bolt by the New Zealand player. We're going to watch here, Karen McCarron. She's not to be outdone, but is she going to fall short? Yes, she is. She falls short.
Yeah, rare miss by McCarron. And now Edwards, the big opportunity here after disrupting the head, getting rid of those two Canadian bowls. Now a chance to draw a second.
So here's now Joe Edwards on the backhand. Just might be a bit wide on that dark line, is it? No, breaking down towards the head here now with pretty good weight too. Is going to sit inside her own bowl. That'll be two. Yeah,
a big final bowl coming up here for Kelly McCarron.
Sure.
She has to draw the shot, you'd think, otherwise she could be dropping a few.
And surprising, changing her hand actually. Well, she's mostly concerned to want to run into her own front bowl. And it breaks down towards the head, different on a different line to the Joe Edwards bowl. In fact, it's going to be under the line of the Joe Edwards bowl, but has it got dead weight to the jack? It has. It has.
Now one to McCarron, so jack level or very close to jack level. That bowl from Kelly McCarron, nearly the perfect weight, an almost perfect line as well, and putting the pressure back on Joe Edwards. Well, it's a privilege to watch these two women in action, two of the great exponents of this discipline, the women's singles.
So Edwards, I'm sure she, of course, if she plays a lot of weight and the jack moves back, still going to be down because of the Kelly McCarron bowl. So the spot belongs to Kelly McCarron. So Joe Edwards will play down on that back end and trying to get that trail or to sit that bowl out as it breaks down towards the head now, trying to get to the purple bowl. It's close to getting this bowl out clean, and it got the jack as well, but we'll give Edwards shot, I think.
Or potentially one to McCarron. I'll have to wait to see what the
just
marker
a matter of how far it went on that line
indicates. Well, he's going to let the players discuss it, I believe. And it's one to Joe Edwards, so well said, Kevin. So another shot to Joe Edwards. Well, rather fortunate how that one turned out. I could see what she was trying to do, was just trying to trail the jack onto her two bowls, but the jack spat out the side. And in the end, thankfully, Joe Edwards had one there. And so it's another shot, and now it's two shots between these two. Kelly McCarron 14, leading New Zealand's Joe Edwards 12 in this race to 21 in this women's singles quarterfinal.
It was one of those heads, Brendan, where you're a bit sort of unsure of really what weight to really play because of how the head was situated. And Edwards was a wee bit fortuitous because it didn't get it exactly right, but certainly we saw those two great bowls on that end by Joe Edwards, which will give her a lot of confidence as well, where she split the two bowls and then with that last bowl. And she's opened up here, as you'll see, as perfect opening bowl, trailing 14-12 in the race to 21. And this is the Asia Pacific Championships at the Broadbeach Club on the Gold Coast. The sun looking down towards the pines, out towards the sea. Perfect conditions out there, Brendan. The trees aren't moving, very little wind. We've got great weather here.
Absolutely, and a privilege to bring you this coverage as well on stuff.co.nz for the very first time, and we'll have another game for you this afternoon as well. It'll be New Zealand men's pair in action. That's Gary Lawson, the skipper, and Shannon McElroy up against either Malaysia or Philippines, and I can let you know right in front of us, because Malaysia and Philippines are playing in their quarterfinal. Malaysia leading the Philippines 15-11 after 11 ends of 18 of their quarterfinal. But right in front of us and on the screen here for you, it is New Zealand's Joe Edwards, the reigning Commonwealth Games champion, in fact the two-time defending Commonwealth Games champion from Glasgow and the Gold Coast in the women's singles, who's involved in a titanic tussle here with Canada's Kelly McCarron. The Canadian leading 14 shots to 12 at the moment as well. And a great opportunity for the Canadian, as we say. Good welcome in to our coverage here. Brenton Vinceroy and Kevin Hickland here bringing you the coverage for you from the beautiful Broadbeach Bowls Club. I will have my proper shirt on earlier. Unfortunately, I got given a women's issue number 10, and a bit body conscious I am, and a bit upset that I had been given the women's shirt. But that's been resurrected. I will have my male issue on later. But it's, as you can see from how we're dressed, it's beautiful here on the Gold Coast, and we apologise for all of you still in the New Zealand winter. Certainly nothing like winter here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club, that is for sure.
And Joe Edwards holding the shot here as Kelly McCarron trying to convert, but it's going to be under the head. And great opportunity here for Joe Edwards to draw a couple. These are more than likely the sort of the loosest bowls that we've seen from these players, really, and just can happen. Perhaps that bowl out the front is just sort of putting them off their line fractionally. As you watch now, Joe Edwards playing her last bowl now as it breaks down towards the head. This looks to be on a good line. How's the weight? Is it going to get all the way down towards the...
That's short.
It's short. So what's Kelly McCarron going to do? Just the one down indicated by the marker, leading 14-12 in the race to 21. I just wonder whether we're going to see now McCarron may attack, but of course her danger if she attacks to get the shot, she could get her bowl as well. Coming to have a look, getting her bowl out, getting out of the head would not be the best result for her. And there's every chance that she could get her bowl, because they're certainly on a straight line to one another. And you might see the more prudent approach of trying to get down on the draw, down through the port to touch the jack or sit the bowl out.
Yes, she goes to inspect the head and now walks back with a clear visualisation of what she needs to do. McCarron, the Canadian, holding a two-shot advantage here, but it is Edwards holding the shot on this end.
So we'll see after looking at the head what the decision is. I think it will be to try and get down towards to the shot bowl.
Long time just visualising
on the drive. This is dangerous.
And it's not on the target. Is she going to get a clip another bowl? No, she's not. So well off the mark there by McCarron, the Canadian. So it'll just be the one shot, though, for Joe Edwards. They may look to see if there's potential of a second, but I don't think so.
Certainly.
Just the one to New Zealand, the market indicates. So Joe Edwards makes it a one-shot game in the race to 21 here in this women's singles quarter-final. It's Kelly McCarron leading Joe Edwards of New Zealand 14-13.
And of course, we've got Ben And Robbie being the magic man bringing you all this, and Robbie, the cameraman that here, the man from Dunedin now, who now lives over here on the Gold Coast. The people that are putting all this together, this great coverage that we're bringing you from the Broad Beach Bowling Club.
You'd think with the pictures we're able to give you, would have a cast of thousands here, but no, there is as many commentators as there are staff putting this whole production together. Great job that Robbie and Ben do, that's for sure, and no doubt you will enjoy their coverage throughout these Asia Pacific Championships, as we have a semi-final for you this afternoon. New Zealand men's pairs in action against either Malaysia or the Philippines, and all going well. 2 finals tomorrow, and then the other 4 disciplines of the Asia Pacific Championships next week, when we're going to have quarterfinals and semis next Thursday, and next Friday we will have our last of our medal matches, our gold medal matches at the Asia Pacific Championships. Of course, this is an important lead-up event to the World Championships here on the Gold Coast next year. A couple more events for these Blackjacks as well on these greens. Before those events, we've got the Multi-Nations later this year in November. Also, a couple of Trans-Tasman events as well in both November and February. And a chance for New Zealanders to get very well accustomed to these greens here. And not only Broadbeach, but also Club Helensvale and Musgrave Hill, the 3 hosts of this tournament. And also the Trans-Tasman later in the year as well. As we've seen a good bowl there from Joe Edwards. Her second, there's the shot, is now Kelly McCarron.
Trying to reach down to inside her own bowl to get to the Joe Edwards counting bowl. Breaks down towards the head now. The line looks as though line and weight looks to be a wee bit under, and it is. So Joe Edwards now, I'm picking we might see Edwards now change her hand. The marker indicating that she's one down, that Joe Edwards is one down. Looking from here, it doesn't look like that for sure, Brenton, does it?
No, certainly doesn't, but the marker will have a better view than us. Of course, the angles and our pictures slightly deceiving.
So long time playing partner of Joe Edwards, Val Smith, here just arrived. The former Nelsonian as well. And Joe Edwards certainly was trying to get there, a touch on the jack.
Yeah, not happy with that one. As she looks away in a bit of disgust. And now looking at the head as well and seeing Kelly McCarron's third bowl, and I believe she'll follow this one down as well and have a little look at how things are around the jack.
Certainly try to get on the wide side to get some cover on these bowls, but it's going to happen because it was all sitting out there for Joe Edwards. Well, the marker's set it. We'll just wait and see what happens after Joe Edwards plays her next bowl, but I'm sure we're going to see Joe Edwards draw down to try and just get a touch on the jack, certainly looking at all the angles. And definitely got the next couple. I'm sure we'll see.
Yeah, marker's still indicating one to Kelly McCarron.
Yes.
So I don't know if we can get any closer there, Robbie. Any chance? See if we have a little look at.
So wait now. Joe Edwards can take the measure or the shot situation out of the equation. She'll be trying to reach down to the shot bowl or get a touch on the jack. Trailing 14-13 is Joe Edwards in the race to 21 now as it breaks down towards the head. How's the weight as it kicks down towards it now? Is it going to get all the way to the jack and touch the jack?
Just going to slide by. Great effort from Joe Edwards. I don't think she can believe it that she hasn't taken the jack with her. It certainly looks like Joe Edwards has the shot from our angles, but the marker, I believe, still saying, is he? Oh, now he's saying New Zealand is holding the shot, but that may be that last bowl from Joe Edwards is holding the shot.
Certainly was a superb bowl there from Joe Edwards. Could have, well, a touch on the jack would have made 3, but certainly looks to be, according to the market, definitely the one. So we'll see now Kelly McCarron, she'll endeavour, she'll follow the...
And of course, our cameras are behind the green as well, so the mark, as you can see on the camera shot there, is right on the green and has a better view than we do, so we can certainly trust his word.
And of course, Kelly McCarron can't have the jack move out to the right-hand side, so she'll stay on her backhand, trying to get under the bowl, or in fact, turn her front mauve bowl over, breaking down towards the head now. It's on a pretty good line. It's on a pretty good line to get to this mauve bowl, and it does. Did it get enough? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. It's very deceptive, this head. Marker indicating all the way along that it was Canada that held the shot, and then the last bowl of Joe Edwards. So let the players have a look as they make their way down to the head.
Got a good view of it there.
And no arguments, that just passed straight over to Joe Edwards.
So we're all tied up once more. And this absolutely enthralling women's singles quarterfinal here at the Asia Pacific Championships. Joe Edwards of New Zealand, the reigning Commonwealth Games champion from the Gold Coast 14 months ago. She's now on 14. Kelly McCarron of Canada, the fourth place finisher on the Gold Coast 14 months ago on 14. And this race to 21, so both 7 shots away, and it's anyone's guess who it will be. It's been thrust and counter thrust, isn't it, between these two? And whenever someone looks like they're going to go on a bit of a run, there's been a response. And Kelly McCarron had that run. She had 5 shots that she picked up in a row, but this has been a great response from Joe Edwards, just like that champion we know she is.
Well, we noticed that the mat has been taken back and the jack is just inside that of the 2 metre mark. So again, the length changed slightly. A good opening bowl from Joe Edwards, sits about 18 inches out to the jack high, just falls over. But certainly a good opening bowl with the score all locked up, 14 all in the race to 21. And again, now we see Kelly McCarron following the Edwards bowl up, playing up towards us here at the commentary position, which is away from the Surfers Paradise end. 3 greens here at Broad Beach. And a magnificent complex, and right in the heart of Broad Beach, and all apartments all around. Stone's throw, or 9 iron to the beach out the other side of us here. As you watch the second bowl now of Joe Edwards break down towards the jack to get a touch on the jack. No, it doesn't. Sits right in behind the jack, only a mere couple of centimetres away. Marker indicated it's about 3 to 4 inches. So here now, Kelly McCarron just asking the marker a question. Definitely 2 down on the head. 14 all, locked up at 14 all in the race 221. Changing a hand to try and reach up under the Joe Edwards second shot bowl. Looks as though it's going to run on the narrow side though. It looks to be under the line. Certainly trying to arrive and get contact to the Edwards bowls. So we'll see now Joe Edwards. She be very determined to finish on the outside of the head, but count, which will help to negate that trail that Kelly McCarron is obviously going to play. Marker indicating definitely 2 to Joe Edwards, and this is on that slightly wider line where she'll want to be as it breaks down towards the head. Now is it going to sit on the shot bowl? It does. A magnificent bowl here, but I'm sure we'll see some attack here.
Yeah, it's a big target now for Kelly McCarron to go at from Joe Edwards. She's got 2 right behind the jack.
Got to be very precise on the draw. Definitely on the backhand. And
she's playing with weight.
Playing with reaching weight for sure. Is now breaking down towards the head. Is it under the line again? Is it going to get... Got nothing. Big hit here now, Brendan.
Absolutely. Big opportunity here.
I'm sure
Joe Edwards.
Joe Edwards will try and get out into this area, into here, where it can still count. If the jack moves out, of course, it's where the spot, which Joe Edwards, of course, would own the spot. So he will have Edwards again. And we're all locked up, of course, at 14 all. This is...
Yeah, had a big chat with the marker there to work out and try and get the picture in her head of exactly where everything is. She decided not to go have a look for herself. And now playing her fourth and final bowl of this end. Looks like she's certainly playing a bit more green there and trying to go into that gap in behind those two shot bowls. It's probably wanted a bit more on it, but
yeah, she
not
would
the
have.
worst. Not the worst result still.
Would have liked to have had another metre on it, or half a metre on it, and we'll see. Definitely,
it's a big bowl now for Kelly McCarron. That's for sure.
Certainly is.
Edwards holding 4. That would put her just 3 away in the race to 21 in this women's singles quarterfinal. So what can the Canadian do here? Big bowl.
Looks as though a change of hand, and it is trying to. This is interesting. Trying to now get
draw
on that forehand. By goodness, it's on a pretty good line as well. It's on a pretty good line as it now breaks down towards the jack. It's on a great line. In fact, it touched the jack.
By. Got a piece of the jack, but not enough to carry it past. So certainly 2. Is it potentially 3 for Joe Edwards, or has that final bowl from McCarron cut it to 2?
Out comes the measure.
The measure's going to come out from Joe Edwards. McCarron couldn't tell from it whether it was a 3rd or whether it is just 2 for Joe Edwards.
Great saving bowl there by the Canadian player.
Oh, great effort, wasn't it? Very much. She could have stolen the shot with it. It was a fine effort, and again, only millimetres away. Well, McCarron's going to come help Joe Edwards here. There's not much between these two.
Well, of course, Kelly did touch the jack on the way through. Got the back of the jack, so it was definitely 4 down. And drove, of course, with a 3rd bowl and missed, but was forced to get onto the draw. Changed.
I believe it's 3. It is 3 for New Zealand, so a big end for Joe Edwards. There's been very little separating them, and for the first time in this match, Joe Edwards has opened up a 3-shot lead. She is now leading the Canadian, Kelly McCarron, 17-14 in the race to 21.
So earlier on in the match, of course, we saw Kelly McCarron with the 3-shot break, but that's now gone. And we've seen Joe Edwards. Remember, she had 5 shots in a row, scored against it, came back into it, now reversed it again, and now we've seen Joe Edwards jump out with that 3-shot lead and played, I think, then a superb head and put the pressure on from bowl 1 right through. And we saw Kelly have to change her hand.
Look at this replay as well, as we see Kelsey Cottrell managing to take out that jack, and it very nearly took out the jack on our rink as well. Thankfully, the marker still had his hand on it, and we saw the other marker try to sprawl across that rink. But a great bowl from Kelsey Cottrell. I believe just picked up a couple of shots in her semi-final against Carmen Anderson of Norfolk Island. Kind of let you know that she's now leading 14-10 in that one. So that's another close quarter-final going on in the rink next door. But for the first time in this one that we're watching, Joe Edwards has got a bit of a cushion here. She's now only 4 shots away from getting through to the semi-finals.
Great opening bowl here, though, by the Canadian, by Kelly, who just sits it just alongside the jack at about 1 o'clock, about 9 inches. Joe Edwards' bowl went behind the head with her first bowl. So Kelly has quickly put the last hand that she's dismissed that and back into her drawing, trailing 17-14 in the race to 21. As we'll now see Joe Edwards change her hand, trying to get to the counting bowl. Looks as though it's going to just be on the wide side and heavy side, and it is. So here's the chance now quickly for the Canadian player to put the pressure. 2 bowls have already been played by Joe Edwards.
Yeah, it was big from Kelly McCarron because quite clearly she could have, dropped her head a bit after dropping 3, but she knew she wasn't far away from turning down 4 into up 1 in that last end. It was only a couple of millimetres away, very, very fine margin. So she's just gone, look, I'm still very much in this, and look at this. 2 great bowls to open up this end. She's now holding 2 shots and putting the pressure straight back on the Commonwealth Games champion.
Well, the really good thing about that last bowl of Kelly is it actually sits right on the centre line, so it certainly cuts some options off now for Jo Edwards, and Jo will be endeavouring to get down, just to sneak past the mauve bowls, get to the jack as it breaks down towards the head now. How's it going to get past on the wide side, or is it going to get to the jack? What an effort here by Edwards. What an effort. I think that'll be measured. So it must sit only at 6 o'clock, just a few inches in behind the jack. So magnificent comeback there. It was a great reply from Jo Edwards.
Yeah, so the marker indicating that it's a measure between those two. So that bowl, which is pretty much right at the same line as the jack, the second closest black bowl as we look at things, and then the closest purple bowl that we see, that's the potential shot bowl for McCarron, Canadian.
It's on its way down towards the Surfers Paradise end and trying to get down to the Jo Edwards bowl, but it's going to go under the head, and it's short and underlined. So Jo Edwards now coming to have a look, and we'll get an idea of who's got the shot. Of course, can't play with too much weight because it certainly wouldn't want to dislodge her bowl out of the head. But the chance, of course, for Jo Edwards is we can play like she just played that third bowl and was to get a touch on the jack, certainly to her advantage, because we don't know who's got the shot. As the marker indicated, it's a measure, and when Jo Edwards had a look at it in front of us, certainly gave nothing away. So we'll see now what the New Zealand number one world women's player, without any shadow of doubt, and winner of the Commonwealth Games gold, the last 2 Commonwealth Games. So here she is, stands on the mat, the tall former Nelson player, now out of Pine Rivers in Brisbane, on its way. This is certainly wider. I just wonder, Brendan, whether Jo Edwards does think she's actually got the shot and doesn't want to go too close to it.
Yeah, certainly never threatened the jack, that one. It was interesting because I thought she might have tried to play a similar shot, get the jack, and as we can see, the closest black bowl to at the bottom of our screen here is where she might have tried to get that jack and run it through towards there, because all the McCarron bowls are short of the jack.
Now, funny enough, I remarked earlier on in this head that the front bowl of Kelly's actually made it harder for Jo Edwards. Well, it now actually makes it harder for Kelly to play with weight to get to that shot bowl, because it does give her a good scoring chance as well. But the jack would more than likely move out to the side, which is all in favour of Jo Edwards. So that's all fine, all those predictions. We're not on the mat. We're not the player with the bowl in the hand. So we'll see. It looks as though that's going to be the draw shot again. And that leads me to think that Jo Edwards may well have the shot.
He's playing a lot of green again, McCarron here, just trying to swing this one around, and it looks like a half-decent line. Too much weight, though. It's going to slide by that potential shot bowl of New Zealand.
Well, the weight also indicating to me that it's one to Jo Edwards, but out comes the measure, so I could be completely wrong, but just the way how it was played, both by Edwards and by McCarron, that it was the New Zealand shot, but we'll see in but a moment. And
it's one to Jo Edwards.
Yeah, we picked it right.
Yeah, well done. So only 3 shots away now, New Zealander, from winning this women's singles quarter-final. It's Jo Edwards, 18, leading Canada's Kelly McCarron, 14, in this race to 21.
Well, that was, Joe Edwards just highlighted there the importance of being, calm and composed. She was confident that she had the shot. Certainly there was a shot on for her to play. More than likely, if Joe had have been down on the head, she may well have then played that shot to try and get that result. Joe was confident that she had the shot and really saying to Kelly, right, you've got to play the shot for you to score now. I'll take the one and just move closer to 21. And so sensible play there by Joe Edwards. She was confident she had the shot and wasn't going to put any danger around losing that. So here we see now Edwards.
She dictates again whether the mat will be played because she won that end too. So another long end being played here. As you can see, the jack just in front of the tee, the tee being 2 metres from the end of the green. So the furthest the jack could possibly be placed, it's only maybe a foot in front of the tee. And not a bad start by Joe Edwards. She pretty much got the weight right, not quite the line. Kelly McCarron again, a lot of green being used as well by the Canadians, so not quite finding their line to open up within this end.
Both bowls finishing level with the jack, which indicates that their weight was perfect, just the line to be brought in a bit. So here we see now Joe Edwards playing her second bowl, leading 18-14. In the race to 21, as it breaks towards the head. Now's the weight going to get it all the way? No, it's not. Was certainly on the line, the right line to the jack with her Henselite Dreamline XGs. As may well force Kelly McCarron to change her hand. No, she's not. The marker indicates that it's about a metre out in front, so quite safe to draw under those. Of course, one player using Henselites, and Kelly did change her hand, using the Taylor red lines, and looks to be on a good line as it breaks down towards the head. How's the weight going to be as the weight starts to pull off now? That'll be the shot, I would say. Joe Edwards asking the marker, and I'm sure it's one to Kelly.
It is indeed, and the marker just indicating how far away it was as well. About a foot and a half away, the shot bowl from Kelly McCarron. So a lot of room for Joe Edwards to work in as she changes hands as well and works on this backhand side. It looks like it's got a bit too much weight. It's going to slide by the jack.
Certainly had the line, but you're right, Brendan, just had that, a metre and a half of weight.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a scrappy end from Joe Edwards as well. This has really given Kelly McCarron a bit of a chance to get back into this match and to eat away at that 4-shot deficit.
Certainly has, but under the line here, and you could see 3/4 of the way down the ring. I just wonder whether there's any breeze. It doesn't seem to be. If you're under that black line, about 3/4 of the way up, you're going to disappear under the head pretty quickly. You're going to be virtually just about hugging on the outside line. As I watch this bowl of Joe Edwards, in fact, it's outside that line that we've been talking about. And now, as the weight starts to come off, now as it breaks down towards the head, this is going to be close. This is going to be close, man. It sure is. Sits right on the jack line. And you see what we're just talking about, Brendan. You get out to that, just get outside that line, and you just get that natural draw.
Yeah, what a sign of a champion that bowl is from Joe Edwards as well. It'd been a pretty average by her standards first 3 bowls, but then she quickly brushed that off and drew the shot spectacularly. And now this is asking a lot from Kelly McCarron. It may get a touch off that other bowl, but not where she wanted it. And possibly now 2 for Joe Edwards.
And again, you saw that bowl of Kelly McCarron's right near the end, just ducked inside the line. Once it got inside that line, and pushed onto her own bowl as well, and could well have made that 2 shots to Joe Edwards, of course. If that is the case, takes Joe Edwards to 20 and just wanting the 1 shot to go out, and it was.
It is. And you almost see the dejection from Kelly McCarron as well. She put her head down knowing that it didn't just drop 1 but dropped 2 shots, and now Joe Edwards, the reigning Commonwealth Games women's singles champion, is just a shot away in the race to 21 from going through to the semi-finals.
Well, that shot from Kelly, she'll be very disappointed about what happened. Was all came about from just missing that line by a few centimetres, and of course you cut away under the head and ran into her own bowl. So now, as the players play away from us down to the Surfers Paradise end, the Commonwealth Games champion Jo Edwards just wanting one shot now to go out. But that bowl that Jo played then, Brendan, certainly was a class bowl, wasn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. As I said, she quickly got rid of what she'd played before, forgot about it, didn't drop her head at all, just focused on the task at hand, knew there was plenty of room for her to draw the shot, and she did. And unfortunately for Canada's Kelly McCarron, she could not reply, and in fact ended up dropping another shot with a slightly wayward final bowl, and now putting Jo Edwards very much at match point as Kelly McCarron gets the jack here and changes the head. That's a great bowl from the Canadian, putting the pressure, putting the responsibility, the onus back on New Zealand's Jo Edwards.
So, of course, the winner of this game, we know, will play in the semi-final this afternoon, playing the unbeaten Indian player. And of course, Jo Edwards already played Tania Chowdhury early on in the event, if it was to be her. Great effort to go through unbeaten. As I watch this bowl now, Jo Edwards break down towards the head. Just might have a bit too much. Going to get to the jack. Is it going to get to the jack? Look at that. Absolutely magnificent.
Wow, the jack was changed. They're playing to a part of the green they haven't at all for this whole match. And look at that bowl from Jo Edwards. Just, well, inside a foot. That is a great response from Jo Edwards as punch and counter punch from these two.
So, no doubt, we'll see. Kelly will try and come down on the other hand, as we thought, and trying to play to the Jo Edwards bowl now as it breaks towards the head, trying to get to the shot bowl, and it does, pushes the shot bowl out and makes two of it. Absolutely precise.
Oh, she's a fighter, Kelly McCarron. She's not throwing in the towel yet, that's for sure. Two great bowls to open up this end. Firstly, trailing the jack, and then that second one getting rid of the response, the shot bowl from Jo Edwards. So now she will hold to Kelly McCarron and putting the pressure back on the New Zealander.
On the wider line, this bowl of Jo Edwards is now as it breaks down towards the head. Has it got the weight to get all the way? No, it hasn't. It'll still leave two to Kelly McCarron, who's played, with Jo Edwards played three bowls. And the bowl sitting slightly jack low. But what it just highlights tenacious fighter, wasn't she? Because we saw Jo Edwards play a pretty good bowl with the first one, but that second bowl, Jo Edwards was fantastic, and then that bowl that Kelly played to dislodge it, absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, she's not going to make it easy for Jo Edwards here. This last shot, as it's so often in the race to 21, is always the toughest to get as well, and that is what Kelly McCarron is going to make it like for Jo Edwards. As this one looks short, she's unhappy with that one. She claps the hands in disgust, shakes her head. Not what she was after two brilliant bowls. That one coming up short.
I just wonder whether we're going to see Jo Edwards.
As the wind starts to pick up a bit here as well at the Broadbeach Bowls Club.
Let's see whether Jo Edwards is going to play with weight to the jack. I thought that she might have a go at this, and she is going straight for the jack. Get the bowl. Bowl just got the one. There was a chance there for Jo Edwards with having the back bowl. There was a great opportunity to get the jack back or dislodge both of the bowls, but moved one of them. And she was certainly quickly into her work with Jo Edwards there. She was confident that's the shot that she was going to play. So 1 to Kelly. And with a bowl left. And as Brendan said before, we'll be this afternoon, of course, bringing you the New Zealand combination of Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy in their semi-final of the pairs. As we watch this bowler, Kelly McCarron's come down towards the jack.
Looks handy.
Looks handy, all right. That'll be 2. It certainly will. Got a touch on the jack. The Canadian certainly fighting with every bowl. 2016 in the race to 21.
It is 2 for Kelly McCarron, so she's not going away, the Canadian. It's now a 4-shot lead again to Jo Edwards, but most importantly, for the reigning Commonwealth Games champion, she is just a shot away from moving through to the semi-finals. Brenton Vanessa-Roy and Kevin Hicklin bringing you the commentary here on stuff.co.nz. It is our absolute pleasure to do so from the Broadbeach Bowls Club, Gold Coast of Australia. Beautiful conditions here for the start of post-section play at the Asia Pacific Championships. First New Zealander in action in post-section play is New Zealand's Jo Edwards, and she's on the verge of moving through to the women's singles semi-final, but Canada's Kelly McCarron is not going to make it easy for her, that is for sure. The winner of this will go through to face India's Tanya Chowdhury, and as Kevin just mentioned, that we will have the men's pairs semi-final coming up later this afternoon from 3 o'clock New Zealand time. Our coverage will start from around 2:45 New Zealand time, and expecting play to start around 3 o'clock, and that game will be against either Malaysia or the Philippines. They're currently in action right in front of us in men's pairs quarterfinal action as well, and then all going well, potentially 4 New Zealand combinations in semi-final action this afternoon. We will have some finals for you tomorrow as well from 11 o'clock New Zealand time. But that plenty of bowls to be delivered before we know what the exact result is there.
And Jo Edwards has opened up with her first bowl and sat right behind the jack. It's non-20, and I can tell you that in the pairs, men's pairs, the Ryan Bester skip side, they've won their way through to the semi-final, so they'll be back out this afternoon. At Jo Edwards, she's drawn right behind the jack with her first bowl and is holding the 1 shot, and 2 more bowls to come from Kelly McCarron as we watch Jo Edwards' second bowl break towards the jack,
and is going to Jo Edwards
straight on top of it as well. And this is really putting the pressure on with the third bowl for McCarron. Now we've seen Kelly a couple of times, of course, play that weight down this end and move the jack. And what does she do here? Draw or drive? Definitely 2 down. And no,
she's going to draw.
On the draw.
With her third bowl of what could potentially be the final end if Edwards is able to win it here. So the pressure
close.
on McCarron.
It's close. It's just going to go past.
Fine effort. The margins here, there's not much in between that being absolutely perfect. Sitting in front of those 2 shot bowls for Jo Edwards, and possibly trailing the jack as well, but it wasn't to be. So McCarron now has only 1 more opportunity. Jo Edwards now just asking the marker what exactly the situation is. How far away are my shot bowls past the jack?
What Jo wants to be is looking for is she knows that Kelly McCarron can drive the outside of that shot bowl. Both bowls will go to the head clean and leave holding 2 shots. It appears as though Jo wants to get into the area where those other bowls are too. And we've seen, yes, that she changed. Jo Edwards, as we said, was just giving herself a bit of cover here, changing her hand in case the jack moves right out to the side.
She might have given it too much. Is that going to stay up?
Of course, so what's really Jo saying to herself, or that it's likely that Kelly McCarron is going to drive with this her last bowl. And of course, the spot here as well is so important. So if the jack gets killed, as it goes to the spot.
Well, big bowl for Kelly McCarron. That's an understatement. She has to come up with something here, otherwise it's going to be shake hands time, and it'll be Jo Edwards going through to the semi-finals of the women's singles. She's had a chance to look at the head. She's on the mat, able to visualise what she wants to do. Now what can she come up with?
Decided to draw with her third bowl to try and get to the jack. And
he'll draw again.
Trying to...
Looks narrow.
Playing with reaching weight to get to them. It's going to go on the outside, and it's gone.
And it is shake hands time. Jo Edwards of New Zealand picks up 2 shots on what is the final end of this. She wins 22-16 over Kelly McCarron of Canada in this women's singles quarterfinals. Jo Edwards through to the semi-finals of the Asia Pacific Championships. She'll be facing the Indian Tanya Chowdhury later this afternoon from 3 o'clock New Zealand time. We will keep you up to date on that. But Kevin, what a fine quarterfinal we had from 2 of the very best in women's singles play.
Well, as we said right at the outset, at the start of the game, Breno, this was going to be a tight encounter. The 2 very, very good players. You know, Jo's the number 1 ranked player in the world. Kelly would be in the top 3 or 4, and they certainly proved that today. The really good thing about the game was the consistency of their draw. Certainly they had a couple of rough ends. You're always going to have that. But the consistency of their draw, and also both players at various times under pressure and played absolutely magnificent shots, you know, to get out of it, and not by driving, by just drawing. And I think both players highlighted their class. For Jo Edwards, after losing that game earlier on, I sense that win this morning has put Jo Edwards on a pretty good course, I think, going forward. And I know that the Indian lady is unbeaten, I understand that, but I just think that with Jo Edwards' display yesterday, where she was outstanding in her 3 games yesterday, and this morning, in this game this morning, I just... Not trying to be too patriotic, but I just think it puts Jo Edwards on a very, very good path now going into the semi-final.
Yeah, and certainly looking forward to that one. I know probably from day one when she dropped that one against India's Tanya Chowdhury that she'd been looking for an opportunity to play her, and that's going to come now in a semi-final. So very much looking forward to that one as well, and we'll hopefully get a chance to catch up with Jo Edwards as well. But before we leave you on our coverage, just letting you know that we've got a game this afternoon as well when we have New Zealand men's pair in action. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy will be in action this afternoon in the men's pair against either the Philippines or Malaysia, who are currently in action right in front of us. Malaysia, the favoured team to go through, currently leading the Philippines 22-14. And now it gives me great pleasure to be joined by Jo Edwards. Well, Jo, congratulations. Job done, I suppose, but that was a great match with Kelly.
Oh, look, it definitely was. I enjoy playing Kelly. You know, there's no crap with it. You just play the games, and whoever wins, and it's generally deserved. So, no, I had to fight pretty hard. I was down a little bit, but you know, I wasn't too unhappy with how I was playing. She was just playing really good. So I thought, well, I just got to be a bit patient, and if she keeps playing this well, then might be having a couple of days, you know, the afternoon off. But no, fought really well. I was really, really proud of that. So it was good.
You must have some pretty special memories of this club, obviously. You got the gold here at the Gold Coast last year for the Commonwealth Games. Seemingly in brilliant form yesterday. Carry that over to today. What can we expect from you now in your semi-final?
Oh, who knows? Who knows? But no, I have been progressing. I have been getting better each day. Yesterday I had a really good day. Felt good. Bowls were coming out good. And yeah, you know, a couple were a bit... Yeah, didn't come out so good this morning, but you know, I'll just try and play as good as I can and try and win the game. That's pretty much. I'm a simple person. Just try and get to 21 first.
Your only loss so far on the Gold Coast has been against India's Tanya Chowdhury, who you're going to now face in the semi-finals this afternoon. What can you tell us about her game, and has she been any kind of surprise in this tournament?
Well, I think the Indians have improved out of sight over the last couple of years, and you know, people, I say it quite a lot of times, people just see a result and go, ooh, but they don't see the game. I mean, she played awesome. She played absolutely awesome, and to be fair, for the last 3 days she's played really, really good, and she deserved her top spot. She won all 8 games, which, you know, it's really hard to do, and so all credit to her. She's playing really well, and I know I'm going to have to play well to compete with her. So it's a one-off game, you know. You win it, you get to play again. You don't.
Well, we'll let you enjoy your lunch and get ready for that one coming up in a couple of hours' time.
Cheers, mate.
That's Joe Edwards. Thank you very much for Joe Edwards for joining us here at the Broad Beach Bowls Club. She is through to the semi-finals of the women's quarters here at the Asia Pacific Championships. From 3 o'clock New Zealand time, she'll be facing India's Tanya Chowdhury. But we will be back from around 2:45 New Zealand time as we get ready for the men's pairs semi-final. It'll be Gary Lawson back in the New Zealand team for the first time in a decade, along with Shannon McElroy, the world singles champion, who look like they'll be taking on Malaysia. Their quarterfinal, still in action right now, but they are leading the Philippines 22-14 after 16 of the 18 ends. So make sure you are back then to join us as well. We'll also be back tomorrow, fingers crossed, with finals action. We're going to have 4 Kiwi teams in semi-final action this afternoon, and then finals tomorrow of the Asia Pacific Championships.